So we are live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today I have a really special guest because, yeah, I have Oliver here from Copenhagen, and I'm based in Rotterdam at the moment. And it's really fun because, like, I think 2 weeks ago, I went to Copenhagen and I was a guest at Carlsberg, and it was completely amazing, I think, conversation that we had about Copilot adoption and as well the agentic world. And I learned a lot from you, but as well from the company. So I thought it's a good idea to put it somewhere online, sharing your story because I think other people as well can learn from it. And not only that, I was there and I also learned a lot from the company itself about how it started, as well. The almost the best beer in the world, probably.
Probably, yeah. Yes.
um, but the other thing that I really liked and I really enjoyed was that everyone was walking with pins of Carlsberg. I missed it. I also have one now, but I missed it to put it on. I
Yeah,
need to,
that's true.
of course, I forgot. But yeah, everyone is so proud of the company where they work, and yeah, I really love that to see that, and I really enjoyed that as well. So being there, walking around with you, and sharing all your AI practices, but as well how the company actually really is. That made me like a really great feeling, and I think it's really good to share that as well. Um, I want to say thank you for being here, and as well, it's really nice that I have the opportunity from Wortel side to do this, and as well being in Copenhagen. So I think it's nice to share that as well. First of all, can you introduce yourself a little bit
Yes.
more?
And first of all, thanks for having me, Femke. That's super nice. And I really liked the visit you had the 2 weeks ago because I think was something I wanted to do more actually to visit company. It's what I sometimes miss by being in one company and not working as a, let's say, consultant or anything where you actually meet up in different companies to learn from those people. So it's got me some ideas to reach out to other companies as well. So I think it was such a nice idea to have to visit a company like that. So you're always welcome again, of course. So it was a nice visit. And as like you mentioned, it's good to notice that people are actually walking around with the pins. And I had my mom around for I think some month ago, and she was also like, okay, so you're that proud of your company because she also saw the pins everywhere on people's
Yeah.
blazers or jackets and stuff. So it is so true. We are super proud about our company, and you really have to also buy into the history as well in the company because you will kind of miss out on something we are having as a culture thing inside the company. So we are really proud. But yes, my name is Oliver. I am placed in the Copenhagen office here in the middle of Carlsberg City, it's called. So we are having the office in Carlsberg City, working in Carlsberg. So it's a lot about Carlsberg. But as again, we are super proud. But I'm placed in the global digital workplace. So having the Microsoft Suite as kind of the ownership of that in the whole company in all our 40 plus markets, driving the agenda from SharePoint to, of course, Copilot as well, which maybe is 75-25% now when having this under your umbrella. But been here for 2 years. Actually today, I think, or tomorrow, something like that. So
Okay.
mid March, yeah. So
Funny.
it is 2 years anniversary right now, and it is a company where we are having a lot of different people brain. We have people that are studying in yeast, or we having the brand managers from 1664 or Carlsberg and stuff. So it is a lot of different people, but also a lot of different markets, which we are calling them in the different countries. And that's where I see in my role a lot of flavor to go into our agenda, to my agenda in our team, because you get so much input and you get so much, I don't know, strange, which I see as a great one, strange ideas, strange, interesting stuff to go into the agenda around AI, which we are almost not calling it in my area. We are seeing it as more as a way you actually are working. So it is an interesting place to be, and we love our work. I love my work. I love the company, and we have a great culture, I think, as you mentioned, Franklin.
Yeah, I think as well that's amazing. And as well, what you mentioned a lot, and what I also saw back when I walked in your company there, is that you love to share knowledge. And I think that's something that already was in the beginning, that sharing thing is really something that's the heart of Carlsberg. So I think that's amazing to do, help other
Yeah,
people so
exactly. It
learn
is
from.
almost yeah, it is almost a part of our job description that, of
Yeah.
course, you need to have a visit from you, for example, Femke, because that's just how it is and just how the people are. I think people are really, outgoing. People are really, open for learning, open for hearing different kind of sides, but also different kind of cultures. I think we have, I don't know, 30 plus different languages, sorry, countries placed in the office, for example. So we have a lot of different people, and it gives a lot of flavor, but also give a lot of teamwork in somehow. So there's a
Yeah.
really it's a great place to be
Good. Hey,
in
and when
general.
we were together, we talked a lot about AI and Copilot and adoption, and as well agents and many things more in the
Yeah,
time that I was. But one of the things that I remember and that I want to highlight on is as well that you say, okay, we don't really see AI as an IT thing. Of course, it is, but we don't see that in the organization in that kind of way. It's
no,
something that we see as like business transformation, or like we totally understand that everyone needs to work with AI, and it's based on our culture as well, that we know
yeah.
that we need to embrace it.
Exactly. And I would say that, of course, we have an overall AI agenda going into the team that are sitting with that and the engineers and this kind of thing. But when talking about Copilot, which we also think of this is for today, is actually about, enabling our great colleagues in a way where they see themselves into the whole movement, if we're calling it like that, and not feeling that they are actually falling behind. That's one thing, but also being comfortable about entering the office and not being okay. We have 30% of the news the day before was about AI, and not
Yeah.
feeling okay. We are so much behind, or we're not so. So the Copilot agenda, we are really trying to place it in a place where people and culture, which it's the new word for HR in our company, are really having this as their saying and also their agenda some way. So they have been great stakeholders from the beginning. I would say they are great people, but it's also about almost getting it a little bit out of it, getting it out of IT. I would say that's been a game
Yeah.
changer. And it's been also a game changer in the way we are running the adoption and training internally completely.
So you have like your own team or your own people who are doing like Copilot adoption, right? So it's standalone, not in the IT department. It's also there, different. And
Yeah.
one of the things that you said is one of the things that how we learn is as well like having short kind of trainings, or short kind of sessions where we help people with not a long session as well. Probably you do that as well, but it's also more like short 20-minute sessions that you can help people, learn people, and knowing what's new or how they can use it on the role. Is that something that you do a lot, or how is that working?
I would actually say that the, let's say, 1.5 hour live session has been the one that have given the colleagues the fundamental,
Yeah.
and given the people that they are feeling comfortable saying out loud that this is difficult, this is I don't know where the button is. Is it something that will be installed automatically? All these kind of entry level questions would have been covered in the first session, and then it's where we have given the different functions, the different markets or departments, kind of an ownership around the agenda. So giving the first sessions, and then they are almost driving the sessions themselves afterwards, in cooperation with us, of course. But the content and the different topics that should be covered is from their ownership, actually, completely.
Interesting. And what you said is that you the session that of the things that you do is as well that leadership is really involved in the usage of, for example, like co-pilots. So as well, they investing time to learn, but as well knowing the priority that it has for the organization. And if someone is looking now and say, okay, I try to do the same, how do you do that? Or are there tips for that?
And it's a good question. I really think it's, of course, having a lot of coffee appointments with some great people to learn from them. That's really important, because what we have done, and I think it was maybe in the opposite way around, how we did it 1.5, 2 years ago, by saying going from bottom down to up. Now we are changing a little bit the last 3-4 months, when having some one-to-one session with some C-level people in our XCOM, it's called, to also really include those people. But in the beginning, what was really, really helpful for us was to learn people better, to know about, because when entering this, let's say, agenda, was a lot about finding the use cases in the beginning, but finding the use cases in the beginning was almost impossible. We had one site, I think one SharePoint site, where we tried to collect some use cases, but they were quickly outdated, they were quickly not being used, and something like that. So finding specific use cases was not in it for us. It was actually about enabling the people, training the people, and we went, actually, of course, there was some functions and departments where it was the leadership that took ownership, but it was, I don't know, 80-70% of the people and the colleagues that actually took ownership around it. Not all the time the leadership. So we tried maybe the other way around in our department. And what we are seeing now is really that people have a language for this in Carlsberg. Those 2,500, 3,000 people which have been on a license or had the time to use a license, and the sayings around losing jobs and losing the position and stuff, it's not that any longer. There's been a fundamental now saying around this, and people are feeling comfortable in using it and have great trust in the
technology.
Technology, yes.
Oh, that sounds nice. And you also mentioned that the adoption rate is really high. Is there something where other people can learn from why that's so high at the organization?
Yes. My best advice would actually be to have some other stakeholders than IT. Even though I'm placed in IT, it's about having my great colleague Fakot in corporate affairs just running around in different markets, saying it out loud, to use the comms people in this agenda. It's by far the best stakeholders we have in people and culture, having them on board to almost our face and sayings out in the company you have, because it's just gives some flavors in a way that you are feeling comfortable about. Of course, it's just some human thing to use in your daily life, and it's just as normal as turning on Outlook or Teams or anything. So it's not a large IT project where people are making me feeling, okay, it's not for me. I'm not part of that project or anything. This is just a way to enable the people in a way that they feel included. So having some stakeholders, which maybe you sometimes not often go to, that's for me the best way to do it. So having a lot of coffee talks and going around in the office and learning from people, that's by far the best way of seeing this, I think, because it is fluffy in a way. At some point, especially in the beginning, it is fluffy what it can do for you. But I really think when you learn people,
you know what they need, and you know how to help them in that kind of way.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you also saying that like the adoption rate is high, so that's super good. You also say, okay, we have different kind of stakeholders, so that's something that we actually really need to get the adoption rate higher, but as well support in the organization, understanding why it's for the company, why it's important, and that's like we also talked a little bit about how things evolving really fast. Like I think I was had a conversation with you, and I already mentioned like 25 things around. Okay, but do you know this already? Do you this? I have a solution for you.
Yeah.
This is also there. Is there something like one of the things that you mentioned was, for example, that you make like a SharePoint page where you put everything together. So if new people get in and you know a little bit like the use cases or some standards that you know from different kind of roles, how they can use Copilot or where to start. But I think a lot of people don't have like a license yet, or some of them already have, but how can you involve people who just starting? Like, is that SharePoint page that you're using as well? Like, I think it's a nice thing to have something like knowledge, putting some knowledge together, and that not someone needs to like reading in a whole Teams environment where people already for 1 year chatting with each other, and then you come in and say, okay, yeah, we have a Teams environment for this. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
So I was thinking about lessons learned from you, or
and that's maybe why we have been, let's say 2 years into the project, that I see it as the ABC. So it's good to be also remembered this about, because having a adoption hub site, which we are calling it, it's great for especially new people to let them in there, so they're not looking around on a endless SharePoint site structure file. So having this is great. And what we did around the community side of it was that we started with having it as a optional. So the people that would enter the community were actually have to be active, going saying, I want to be part of the community. So we kind of thought that those people might want it a little bit more around Copilot, or is a little bit more eager to learn. So that was what we did in the beginning, but we then changed, I think, I don't know, September or October last year, to just have all with the license to be automatically added to the community. And it's only because we saw some high engagement on the community side compared to, let's say, more global news, which we try to get out with. So the channel was working great compared to our other channels. Not saying that we maybe from adoption perspective, we of course wanted more traction, more people going in and do stuff. But again, it's about finding the best, let's say, channel to reach people. So having adoption hub site, having the community, I think it's great. It's not where I see it's like, of course, it's maybe mandatory, but it's also where we don't see the highest impact. It's like basic level, and then on the other side we also have a champions network, which we actually, just being completely transparent, should do more with, because they have also did even more, saying I want to be an ambassador in Carlsberg. But having these 3 pillars is great. But I would say again, it's having those sessions, having these live session if possible. It's not possible in Carlsberg as well, but having as much of a hands-on training is where we see from my perspective, real impact and sparkle in people's eyes, because this is where people can actually learn, I think. So even though we have been going, let's say, 2 years with this, it's good to also maybe rethink how we do it. And we have seen this as the ABC going into the project. But I think we also have a work to do in just this year to also rethink how we are driving the agenda inside internally.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And do you see what kind of applications is the most used application in combination with Copilot? Is there something that you say, okay, most of the time I see like Teams and Teams meetings. Do you know what is the most that you use in the company?
It is the most used, the chat function by far, actually, and then of course Teams and Outlook would be the winners. And I think it comes down to I think Excel is there now in a way. I think it's performing pretty well, but let's say having actually PowerPoint as a for many people primarily application, almost the one stop that which they're working in, not having the best output yet, I think. And it's where people struggles to having too much, I don't know, having too much time by just redesign it afterwards compared to just do it themselves. So chat, Outlook, and Teams would be the places for the most used in Carlsberg.
Yeah.
By far.
And one of the things that we discussed when we were together, I was saying, I think it's really nice to learn from Copilot and say, okay, this is summarized bottom and this is how you can use chats, but you really need to rethink about your way of working, and you need to think when you have your Teams meeting that you already understand that you want to ask the right questions, and then have, for example, making a PowerPoint presentation because you asked the right questions, and it helps you with creating that PowerPoint presentation in the right way. Is that something that you also bring in the sessions, or is it more like, okay, this is the bottom, this is how you can do this, and you let people think about it itself, or is it like a change of way of working?
It is what we have, let's say, what we found out really quickly, I think 1 year ago maybe, was that it's always nice to have sessions around features in Teams or Outlook, but it's not where we see a lot of traction. It is something that people would have time, maybe not time, but figure out themselves.
Yeah.
So not having these specific session around specific application, we didn't see that much of a traction, or some traction on these sessions. But actually the more, let's say, neuro thinking, having those sessions where people learn about what it does for people in general, not only in a work life, but also maybe in private life. Having those sessions has been key. Actually, there's been some great traction to these sessions, and we are really going to have some more this year, I think, because let's say 4 or 5 times more people would participate in a session like that compared to a Teams Copilot session. I think that goes into the pumps in a community, maybe. Have you seen this in Teams or something like that? And that's about the session, but the, let's say, function-based trainings, which we are running as well. This is where people can come also up with, and having time to explore. Yeah, exactly. To explore those capabilities. So it's really about finding the right way to do it, and I think it's difficult as well.
Yeah. And you're saying you have like ambassadors, but you have as well internal champions. So the ambassadors are more the ambassadors about creating and using Copilots in the right way, that everyone understand why, and supporting like the AI tool. But the champions are more around helping other people, I think, as well, and sharing their use cases and helping them and keep it alive, I would say, probably. Is there more that the champions are doing in your group, or is this?
Just again being super transparent, I think we should enable them even more because they are so great people and they want to know. So it comes down to resources, actually, resource talk around having not time to maybe invest more in those people, but I really think we should just being completely transparent because they are super great people. And when I see and learn and hear from people in the different markets where I didn't have done anything, maybe running around, drive the different kind of agenda in Copilot, it's just a massive help for me sitting in a Copenhagen-based office, and Denise from Kazakhstan is just doing a massive job in Kazakhstan, for example. So these kind of things is where we will look into in 2026 to have a better vision and better understanding for helping those people out, because it's super difficult to have time to have enough content in different languages. And not that Copilot can't do this, but having some really localized training for the localized departments and functions is key, I think, especially if we're going to have a push more in terms of licenses internally. That would be key to have a proper setup to help those people out in the different markets. Yeah.
And we also talked a little bit about starting with, not starting, you already started, but a lot of organizations need to start with agents. I think many colleagues already like exploring, and there are some options there as well. When do we go start with Copilot or using Copilot? When do we need to build an agent? You talked a little bit about it and shared, okay, we have a lot of agents already running in our organization. Yes. Are there some lessons learned that you want to share that other organizations can learn from as well?
Yes, and I think that almost comes down to our vision from our CEO, which I think in the second week I was I started, so it's 2 years ago now, saying please don't shoot after the tree in the backyard, shoot for the stars, because it's really about enabling people's innovation mind thinking internally. So instead of setting up thousands, maybe hundreds of guardrails before entering an agenda for agents, for example, I would have, I assume that we didn't have that much of attraction for building agents today. So it was about enabling it pretty quickly, pretty early in people's thinking. And now we are just seeing, people being super innovative, and it's from tax to finance to all procurement, to all different kind of functions. And I think I looked the other day, I don't think even it's IT that are building most agents today. And that's for me super interesting. And it's also where I see our strategy has worked pretty well, enabling it pretty early and not having too many guardrails that you have to work in for. Of course, we have the fundamentals in place around security and stuff, but we are more about having the innovative thinking, I would say. So I think that's been great to not having it as okay, now we piloted it in 10 people from IT, something we are going to run with. No, actually almost have 10 people from 10 different functions would have worked even better, I think. So we have been a little bit more open, I think, compared to other people I've talked with.
Yeah, fantastic to hear that you just have an open mindset and that everyone can create and can be innovative. The other way is, of course, that you need to have thinking about the governance and thinking about, okay, how many agents are we really have running, sure. How many processes are together. So you also mentioned a little bit about that you need to structure and need to find out how everything is working in the organization, and that you have to guard. Yeah, you don't want to have too much guardrails, but as well, of course, you need to understand what's happening in your organization in the right way. And I think a lot of organizations are in the middle of that, right? Everyone is starting to creating agents, and of course, as well, the documents that are being used for the agents, or the data that is being used for the agents. And that's the other thing that I want to mention as well, what about data cleaning and the things also for Copilot, but as well around agents? Is there something that happens in the past around cleaning up your data, or is that something that doesn't happen, or how is that? Is there something where or what you can share about?
Yeah, and that's good that I have this broad title in Carlsberg, because I'm also, the owner of SharePoint, and that's where, I don't know, 85% of all our data is placed at the moment in SharePoint Online. So the governance, the data cleanup is something we have been really optimizing the last 2-3 years, having different ways of doing it, but also trying it out, because going from local drives where it's just one place, and cleaning it's something a place in another city. So having having a little bit more hands-on around our data. I can go in details, but I don't know if it's that interesting to look at. But we have done a lot about versioning internally, having a 30-day period where we think people would have 5 versions, down to after 30 days where we see people only need 2 versions. So these kind of data cleanup exercise we have done through the past years, and the data is in place in. I can't go that much in the details, but we
Yeah.
have a way of cleaning up our data. That's
Yeah, so it's something that you think about and that you
yes,
actually keep tracking, like in a period, and it's something that it's normal for everyone and understands what's happening with the data,
yeah,
sort of. Yeah. And there's one thing I was in a like massive big meeting room with you when I was there, and there was like I think 25 seats were there, and you said, okay, we have um, one big screen with some good Teams rooms environment, and as well another screen that as well can track people and understand who is saying something. And one of the things that I see a lot in companies is that they are not really always investing in the right things. And I think all the all the rooms that I saw and everything that I saw, that was completely, I think, with new technology, and it really looks amazing. Maybe not everything I see you. I
no,
don't see.
there are some room that needs some change, but that's how it is. Yeah.
But it's the thing that you are really thinking about as well, transcription, and that
Yeah.
your voice and your face recognize, and that Copilot can do a better job, even in a bigger meeting
Yeah.
room. I had the feeling that you're really thinking about it as well, and that it's something that is investing in as well. Is that something that is happens, or is it something that you have on your roadmap as well?
It's not completely in my area, but it's in my team. Having my great colleague called Alexi, having the device management overview both on our laptops, but also
Yeah.
the equipment in the different rooms, and that's great to almost have him in the same team as me, because that's where we can discuss and have a saying about, okay, please take this version of a mic or a camera or anything, because it can do this in this software. So it's great to have that collab with my close colleague. I think it's just lucky that he's so close. And then, of course, internally in our office, we have a great collab with the on-site support, being super active in updating the different devices, so the software is up to date to for example, voice recognition, because it's something like it is a part of our training. Please go in and upload your voice to Teams, and also your face, because you will have a much more deeply and well transcription afterwards. So yes, it was a good question. I haven't thought that much about it, but it's true. We have a great collaboration with the people that are on the devices as well. So that's
Yeah,
lucky. Yeah.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Um, do you? have something that you say, okay, we make. I think every organization was starting with Copilot, and you already started like years ago. But what is the biggest mistake that you learned from? Like, is there something that you say, okay, or not, is there no mistake? Is it something that happened? But is there something that you say, okay, this is how we did it, but actually we do when we do it over, we should do it in a different way.
Yeah, it's not one to one how it is today, that what a new company could learn from the mistake. But we had this opportunity to enter the early access program, having the 300 licenses, and those 300 licenses was maybe given to not the right stakeholders, just to
Yeah.
be complete true. So being super open into this, if let's say going from 0 licenses to just 50 licenses, being complete open to not only focus on IT people. Again, I said it also in the beginning, but not only focusing on IT people, and maybe having even more from the business compared to IT, because it is not IT, this one. It's how you work, and every session we start out by having 5 minutes to let everyone pin Copilot in the taskbar in the bottom, to have it as visual to the license holders, so it's so easy to open as open Outlook, for example. So go out of IT, I would say, and let the great people in the different even tags or anything where you think, okay, it must not be something for this department. Go into their office and ask if there is like some people that want to try a pilot, because that's where you see the magic. It's not IT talking about IT, because IT people can talk forever around how great or how not great a tool or a agent or something like that, how it is. But the magic is actually when different functions talk about how it can help them also cross-function. That's where it's really interesting, where you can maybe set a pilot with different functions to have a cross-collaboration. I think that's really where this, now I'm saying tool, but this way of working is actually, something different from I have maybe tried. I have done SharePoint online adoption throughout many years. It's a little bit more function based, and then it's going to have a great structure in here. This is really where you can have to elevate some great colleagues in the different functions, and that's where I think tech is nice.
Yeah. Let me see if we have some questions. That's funny. Someone's saying that Wortel is also brewing some beer, so that's funny. I also shared that with you. It's really nice to hear something from the success story. So, and some questions about interesting that we hear some journey that it's moved from SAP to Azure and now Copilot and agents. So it's really nice to hear this kind of success stories. Well, it's good to hear. Not really a different kind of questions, but if someone have a question, please, you can always comment on this LinkedIn live session. I think I want to say thank you, Oliver, for everything what you shared, because it's really interesting about stakeholders. I think it's really interesting about the adoption program, the different kind of things that you use, but as well the live sessions, that is still something that people actually can learn from. I think cleaning up data is something that you need to be in your mind, and as well need to do it to get better output of Copilots. I think lessons learned as well is the agent part. We can make it really big, but as well we can help people to be innovative, do it by just helping them to create the agents, and in a good way, of course, of governance and security, but the innovation is in the people who are actually working with this kind of agents. So I think a lot of lessons learned from the organization there, and I think you are way ahead in a lot of other organizations and make a lot of big steps the last year. So compliments for that.
Thank you. Can I have just one comment at last here? Because what we also really saw in the beginning was connecting this agenda to the company's strategy. We have a
Yes.
growth culture strategy for connecting this in the beginning, having this as, I think we have all the time have a, let's say, first page was some security advice, of course, that's always nice to have in the training, but then third paper was around the strategy, connecting Copilot to the strategy. And that's where we also saw some enablement in the different functions, but also in the different markets, having this as, okay, I can now pinpoint to different points in the strategy by using Copilot, having this as a work tool. So that was also really cool.
And there's one thing that's popping up in my mind that I was as well a little bit mind-blowing, and I forgot to ask you, so I really want to add it here in the end. You said you also use Copilot for an inclusive environment. Is there something that you can add on that?
Yeah, definitely. We have had the last 5-6 months had a, let's call it, focus group in the UK market, 15 to 20 people, giving them a license, having different kind of diverse disability, let's say dyslexia, in autism spectrum or something like that, to have those people or people with having, let's say, more deep thinking people, having maybe 30 to 45 seconds compared to where you just speak out loud, to deep think some to enable those people have been by far the most heartwarming. I wouldn't call it a side effect of this agenda or movement, but it's been where we see people, raising 30 centimeters going out from a meeting because they now have a saying in meetings. They can ask in the meeting, did I actually understand this questions right? And then they can actually have the option about raising their hands and give that, really deep reasoning sometimes, because they have those deep thinking brains, which I think it's super interesting to look at as a company, to have that almost written down in the job ad, to be open for these people. So it's going to be almost a blueprint in the other markets, what we have done in the UK market. So
That's
having
super.
this as a way of using a tool in general to enable these great people, and also the job ads. I think that's a super exciting and a heartwarming thinking in this maybe sometimes a little bit hardcore tech world, but this is a more soft way of enable people.
Yeah, interesting to hear, and I think a lot of organizations can learn from this part as well. So thank you for sharing. Thanks, Oliver, for being here. I think probably you visit us maybe one day in the Netherlands as well. I hope so. And thank you so much for sharing. And
thank you for having me.
My visit a few weeks ago. Of course, we're going to make some nice content around it as well. But as well, thank you for doing this. I think a lot of people in organizations learn from you. So thank you. And I would say have a nice weekend. And
you too. Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Take care.